There you go. Thank you.
Oh,
Okay. So, looking over the minutes, were there any comments or additions or subtractions to the minutes from last month? Huh? Oh, you still can't? Hmm. Okay. Any additions?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second.
I've got it. I'm just. So Duffy made a motion to approve the minutes and Peterson seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Public comment. We have more public here today than we have had for a number of months. Any comment from the public? Don't be bashful. Okay. Could you come up front? Well, sure.
Hello, my name is Michaelo Kelly. Sorry I look kind of dirty. I just came straight from the gardens over in Rock Island.
Good.
Yeah, I think I speak on behalf of a few of us to say we are just thrilled that Adriana is on the team. Would I address you as the board or?
The board. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, that's good. Under old business at last month's meeting, we didn't have any business because due to having reports from the Friends committees. So the, excuse me, I don't have any old business listed. Unless somebody can think of, is there an item that I'm forgetting? Jerry, did you have something?
I'd just like to add on to what we did last week or last month when we had both of those groups here. I thought that was great information of how we did that and what they explained how they do things and what they're doing. And the more we do that, the better off that we are to make right decisions of where we need to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we do plan on bringing in a couple more groups probably later in the season, I'm guessing. Jessica, did you know?
So right now we have the Friends of Vets scheduled to come in August and speak with us, and then Junior Theater Inc. in September.
Thank you. Oops, I'm looking. I'm sorry, I've got last month's agenda there. Under new business, I think the main thing, as you can see, is a flood update. I mean, that's pretty much on everybody's mind. So, Riverfront Parks and the cleanup. Who was going to, was that Chad or Betsy or?
No, I'm going to report out on that for you guys. So, the riverfront cleanup, obviously, if you've been down to the riverfront, our riverfront parks sustained significant turf damage due to the inundation and sustained water over the grass. So, on tonight's committee of the whole meeting, there are the plans and specs on the public hearing for the turf restoration project. There's two bid options within that package. One would be to sod the area, the other would be to seed. This is a roughly 379,000 square foot area from Modern Woodman Park east to up to the roller dam. So the majority or all of LeClaire Park, as well as what would be Main Street Landing area. That's what this turf restoration project will handle. As far as Centennial Park and Veterans Park, we will do in-house overseeding of that. The reason we're going to bid on the other areas, that's our main special event area, and we want to get that turf restored as quickly as possible in hopes to still have some of our seasonal events down in the LeClaire Park area. So look for that on council committee of the whole tonight. I think it's scheduled to be public hearing and potentially award the bid all in one swoop, which would mean we would be able to hopefully get contractor on site and under contract sometime within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So, and then it's probably a 2 to 3 week project because they'll come in, they'll strip all the dirt off, all the river sediment and everything that was left and all the turf, and then lay either sod or reseed areas. So, Riverfront Trail is opened and has been cleaned up by our parks team. So from Credit Island all the way to River Heritage Park, that trail is up and back and running. I think, and Betsy can comment, we probably scraped a good 6-inch level of mud off of that trail and hosed. And with the assistance of the fire department and public works staff, I mean, it's been a great team effort across the city to get this stuff back up and running. So, just to segue a little bit because it has to do with the riverfront, Red, White, and Boom is obviously scheduled for tomorrow. The riverfront park areas will be closed to vehicular traffic. In years past, we've allowed parking in Centennial Park and other areas along the riverfront. That will not be an option this year. You can still walk in and bring lawn chairs, so pedestrian traffic will be allowed into the parks and along the riverfront to view the fireworks, but no vehicular traffic. So the crossings at Marquette and Gaines will be inaccessible by vehicles. So I think that's sort of it as far as riverfront cleanup. Richard, you wanted to comment on railroad crossings from the Riverfront Improvement Commission.
Yeah, I just had one question. Are you going to have a press release on that Red, White, and Boom, so the public knows about the park?
Yeah, Public Works is coordinating that, and that'll be released today.
Okay, just to avoid confusion.
Yep, along with parking maps of downtown and traffic flow and where to go for the event. Yep.
Chad, are there sprinklers in the area and were they affected in any way, or how do you
Yep.
not hit them with what you're going to go about?
So
Yeah.
there's irrigation in the area that we'll be restoring, and the contractors will be conscious of that, and we'll work around that and make sure. And if perchance they hit a head or get too low, they'll be responsible for making those repairs and making sure the irrigation system stays intact. We rely on that system quite heavily once the river goes away to help flush out some of the sediment and clean up the park. So
Obviously, we don't have flood insurance, right?
no. And I don't have an answer as far as you may be wondering if FEMA is going to cover some of this. I don't know off the top of my head. We are submitting and documenting all our recovery efforts and all our expenditures, and that'll be turned in, and that's the finances department's realm.
Okay. Well, I've attended several of the riverfront meetings about the railroad tracks. As far as our interest, the Parks Department, there's 3 main intersections that's going to affect the parks. One is River Heritage, which there's not enough room between River Drive and the tracks to allow for the correct incline to get over the tracks. So right now the option is to move that further east, I think, is one option. The other one that would affect us would be Gaines Street. They're talking about making pedestrian only on Gaines Street to avoid some of the traffic. And if they do that, they would then extend Warren Street down to Beiderbecke and make that as a vehicular crossing over the tracks. That is another option they're working on. And the last one is the by the Dillon Fountain, which is Main Street. They're trying to come up with some sort of plan to make that a nice pedestrian crossing. Also, there's a long way to go, and I believe Steve? Are they still meeting on Mondays on that committee? Oh, I thought Steve.
He was here. He stopped by, but yeah, that task force is still active, and they are reviewing different options with Canadian Pacific. And as soon as we have some more, I guess, formalized plans, we'll share those with the group so you guys can take a look. But I haven't seen any significant documents to this point.
No, there is that. Yeah, that's right. You're on the committee, so if it's an open meeting, so if you want to go and listen to them, what time, JJ? 4 o'clock on Thursday. And it's over at the police station. So, if you're interested, we'll move along. Let's see where we at. Credit Island. Oh,
So,
boy.
Yep. I got a little slideshow just to update you. The other major impact for us in regards to the flood was Credit Island. A couple weeks back, we did a media briefing out there just to update the public, but share with you guys some images. The causeway has had significant damage, to say the least, and is currently in such disrepair that we are not allowing any vehicular access onto the island. We are working, city engineering is working to get plans and specs out to have the causeway repaired. It would be a temporary repair, at least to allow us to get into the island further. So these are a couple pictures. The big tree was down. We've observed numerous trees have been knocked down throughout the island and on the causeway. You can see the bigger picture on the right is our gated entrance. As for the lodge, we need to, and we're working to get a cleaning company spec'd out to come in and do cleaning. The other issue we're facing is there's no power to the island because 4 power poles were displaced and knocked down through the flooding. So all in all, the steps are really causeway first, look to get power restored, and then get the lodge cleaned up as quickly as possible for fall events. The lodge, at least from visual inspection, didn't appear to have any structural damage done to it. The windows, I think we only had one window maybe that was cracked, but significant mud built up within the lodge. Here's some other pictures. The storage building behind the lodge sustained some damage to some of the doors. The 1812. The 1812 rock, you can see, survived, although the area around it was significantly eroded. There's more pictures of the causeway, some of the bollards. The ball field fences were sustained significant damage as well. Glad to report that the tank is there. That was a concern that we get eyes, because there were rumors floating that the tank floated away. But the tank is intact and where it should be. So that's sort of the update on Credit Island at this point, unless I missed anything, Betsy. Yeah. So questions about Credit Island?
I have.
Go ahead, Jerry.
We were talking, a couple meetings ago about raising where the tank's at and where the playgrounds are going to be. And with this flood, the way it was this year, which is the worst so far, which guy showing knows that could be even worse than today, this year. Is that 7 or 8 foot going to be high enough to where they do the mounds to raise that all up?
Yeah, I think my recommendation is going to be we take a look at Credit Island from a master planning perspective long term. And part of the task force I believe the mayor is putting together to look at flooding in the community as a whole, I would like to see Credit Island be a part of that conversation, and we'll do some analysis and look at, you know, access long term. You know, does the causeway, should it be raised significantly? And I know the Corps of Engineers, I believe, is going to be heavily involved in that process too, and you know, hydrology studies and other things will be done. So,
Good.
yeah, because we lose the causeway goes underwater at 15.5. So even the riverfront flooding, I mean, Credit Island sustained a longer flood period than most areas in the community. So.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wendy?
Yeah, I would think that Ninja Playground is it stored away?
Actually, I have some on my director's report
Okay,
regarding
that's
that
great.
further on.
because-
So
yeah, because
we'll
it
have a
seems to me
discussion.
that in the magic.
We have an idea to run
Oh,
by you.
good. I'm going to look forward to that. Thanks.
Yeah. You know, we had a task force in 2008 on Credit Island. I'm sure Troy remembers. Hey, we can throw that one out the window after this flood, I think. Just a
Richard?
thought.
Richard, could you turn your mic on so we're catching and hearing you for video?
I thought I was on. I got my light on.
Okay, thank you.
So anyway, moving on. Yes, I'm sorry. Alex.
Do we have anybody? So the mayor's task force for flooding. Do we have anybody from this board to represent?
He hasn't made those appointments yet. So
Okay.
Let's see. Under staff reports, Steve was here under Riverfront Improvement Committee, but he left. Did he leave you anything, Chad?
his report is in your packet. Let me do the quick notes. Oh yeah, the Lindsay Park Yacht Club is doing some dredging in the Lindsay Park Harbor, and portion of that fill is going to be relocated to Veterans Memorial Park to help, because we are going after a REAP grant to get that project going a little bit more, and it'll be basically clearing of the back acreage and leveling, and Zach Peterson is working on that grant now, but a portion of the fill is going to be utilized to help that process along. He mentions the railroad discussions are continuing with the crossings. And then there's a couple other bullet points in the packet on Steve's report.
Any questions on the Riverfront Committee report? Okay. Adriana.
As far as it says quality spoils from the dredging being placed at the old city landfill and veterans. Is that kind of to help with the leveling?
Correct. Yep. So Veterans Memorial Park has a 3-phase master plan for further development, and part of the next phase is to clear out some of the invasive areas, level off, and get ready for future development. So, yep,
Okay. And is that, so that would be phase 2?
that's part of phase 2. Well, technically it's outside of the scope of phase 2, but it's assisting
Okay.
get ready for phase 2, if that
Sure.
makes sense.
And
Phase 2 is the scenic overlook, some expansion of the monument area.
10,000 seat amphitheater.
No,
That's what I read.
an amphitheater? Is there an amphitheater?
10,000 seat.
Uh,
I know. So I was also
I'd have to check
asking
on
about
that. There's been several revisions to that plan
Okay.
through the years, much like the River Vision plan. So the last one I don't think had an amphitheater in it, but I'll check into that for you and get you more information.
Thanks.
Thank you. Well, I guess we can move on to operations.
So yeah, my report is attached as well. Couple of things that I just want to highlight. We've talked about the flood already, but we do have our Youth Corps beautification team. And willing hands to help us. They're helping us with flood cleanup, mulching playgrounds, just some things that are that you can see, which is really helpful. And also, I would be remiss to not mention Parkopoly. That has been a wonderfully popular summer theme at Vanderveer. And this year, the staff that worked on it, and it wasn't me, worked hard to make it so that you could go multiple times. It's not a case where if you do it once, you're done. I don't want, been there, done that, don't want to do it again. You can go multiple times, so that has been great. So if you haven't done that, and obviously it's based on Monopoly, which we all know and love. So you guys can do it as well. Any questions?
The Monopoly at Vanderveer, I've seen a lot of activity there, and the items set up there looked great. I'm really pleased with that.
Betsy, as usual, you do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Adriana?
As far as the Youth Corps group goes, is that through the DNR?
It is not. It is through, and Teresa can talk more intelligently about it than I can. But it is through. It is part of the AmeriCorps program, the
Okay.
national.
Okay. Do you know if there's, because I saw some kids about my age at 2nd and Harrison, that prairie plot. There's a little strip of prairie planting in front of the bus station and next to Figgy, across the street from Figgy. There's an Irish memorial with the statue next to it. Yeah, there's that prairie strip right there. And so I went over and talked to the kids that were maintaining it, and they said that they're working with Iowa DNR.
Oh.
And the city of Davenport bought 3,000 plugs,
Oh, okay.
and they were just putting some of them there at that spot. I didn't know if you knew about that program.
But
Okay, thanks.
Board members, I want to remind you to push your call button and not your mic button, so that I can, so that it'll, when you push your, that way I've got a list of who wants to speak, and okay. I don't want to have to, play teacher here, and Okay, recreation, Teresa.
Hey, Teresa Hallman for the New People. I am the Senior Recreation Manager and the City of Davenport AmeriCorps Program Director. Just a little information about that for the new people. We are the largest AmeriCorps program in the state. We have 109 members if we're full, 40 of which are Youth Corps, and they are just served 300 hours in the summer at a variety of sites, including the beautification crew that Betsy named, and a beautification crew for golf as well. And all over, some at the Y, some at Girl Scouts, some at, all sorts of agencies. What you would have seen at that particular location is probably a part of Green Corps, which is a segment of the AmeriCorps program, similar as ours, but they're like managed throughout the state as part of DNR initiatives. So, I also have attached my thing. Does anybody have any questions about our about my report? This has been on top of the other challenges that we've had. I did lose our AmeriCorps manager. We contract with Big Brother Big Sister to help us manage this program, and it like I said, it is the largest in the state. It's one of the largest in the nation, and so it has been quite a challenge, not necessarily being in our office and onboarding about 55 members was quite the challenge, but we did it. They're all starting and they're serving and they're doing a really good job. So
Any questions
any questions?
for Teresa?
Everything's going really good. We have our camps are full and running, and so things are moving on.
Jerry?
You do a great job too, as well.
Well, thank you.
I don't know how you get things done. I don't know how either of you get things done.
We have a great team.
Yeah, you sure have. So
We're lucky.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. Next, we'll move on to Chad's report.
So I mentioned when Wendy asked,
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed Troy. I'm sorry. Troy, Yeah, he was going to take the break.
Good day. I'm Troy Evans, the Revenue Facilities Manager, which is the River's Edge facility and all the golf courses. I put some general stuff in my update about the weather that we encountered in May and April, May, and part of June, and we're still recovering from that as Betsy is getting everything mowed up. There's still places that we haven't trimmed a single tree yet on the golf course because we're still mowing grass that we were getting behind in and that we were behind a month ago. Also, one highlight I would like to add that it is in my report is we developed a rental agreement with a catering company that's going to be in the Red Hawk Lodge. It is using space that wasn't used. We didn't sell concessions out of there. We just used it when we rented the facility out in the wintertime. We've had a few setbacks with bringing some things up to code. So they're getting that accomplished for their catering business, and that's hoped to be up and running yet sometime in July yet. And we'll post I'm sure you'll see an email about it when it's going. We're real excited about that. And then we'll be adding up the revenue suffrage from the golf courses this spring. May was pretty much wiped off. Was pretty much wiped off the map. We did that's our fourth or our fifth largest revenue month, and I mean it was really low because you guys know you could even go outside on your own property, let alone the golf courses got way out of hand, and it wasn't it was a very regional thing. I mean it wasn't just our golf courses. Everybody will show that same decline. So it'll be a tough year. I got a bottle of Tylenol ready for when I start working on the budget. So so other than that, it's really recovered well. June numbers have already came in. I was just looking them up on the from yesterday. The June numbers are bounced right back, and they're ahead of last June. So June came back really well. So I think we're on the right track, as long as Mother Nature agrees.
Good.
Any questions, please?
I see Jerry's got a question. Of course.
Yesterday, when I was over by Emi's, it was pretty well shut down because of the fact that carts were not going out. I have a question for that. In the future, are we going to put any more cement?
I have an answer. We do have a CIP, golf improvement CIP for the first time in a long time. That has been approved to be that we're going to start working on this year. We're going to mix in a lot of different updates in there, a lot of areas that we need to repair and need to upgrade. The priority, it kind of changes sometimes because of things that come up and things that fail. But I did talk to me and the other supervisor, that's the greenskeeper on staff. We talked about some of the resources that we do have: gravel, roll-a-millins, and some rock that we can get at little or nothing. And we are going to decide. We have decided we are going to invest in getting a map of cart paths done. So a professional design of a golf cart path, so we know where to put them, and we're going to start dropping in these gravel paths. As you know, pardon me, chippings, seal chips, stuff like that. Those are all on the table for us, and we'll asphalt and concrete some sections that we have to get through. But we've, you know, there was a lot of days where golf was never good in May, but there was days that cart path courses got along and made some revenue, that they were able to run their carts where we couldn't. And even he commented about yesterday. Yesterday was a no cart day. We got 2.5 inches of rain in our area on Sunday night. So it's a rare day that we're all that shut down. Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And we are going to look at building that into our bigger capital improvements, is to get those continuous paths done. Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Steve, oh. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sure, no problem. Gotcha. Those cart paths got you all going. That's good. Okay.
Steve.
I met with the catering company gentleman a few weeks ago, and to me, that sounds like a very exciting thing for Red Hawk, and I think it'll bring in some revenue, not just for golfers, but just people off the street.
Absolutely. It is set up that they'll have a walk-up window for single serves, or if you're picking up an order that you can order online. So yeah, we feel like it's a good use of space, and there's a potential for more hot food to be available for Red Hawk customers, and then we will also probably most likely serve their product at our other golf courses.
And so they'll be able to sit down and eat their food and orders right inside Red Hawk.
Yes, we're allowing common space to be used by people who walk up to the window and order something. You pick it up, you can sit down at our tables and eat. Absolutely.
That's good. That's a great idea.
Seeing no more, thank you,
All right.
Troy.
Very good. Thank you.
Now we'll move on to director's report.
Thank you. So the one thing I have, this is a sort of a late minute addition, but timing is critical if we want to move forward with this. We have discussed the opportunity to potentially relocate the Ninja playground that we have purchased as part of the FY19 Park Development Fund to be located at Credit Island. We purchased it last fall. We've been sitting on it in storage for quite some time, obviously because we haven't been able to install on Credit Island due to the flooding. And with the long-term concerns of Credit Island and potential future flooding, staff and I got together and are at least going to advise or ask you guys to consider moving or allowing us to install it at Sunderbrook. We have an area mapped out at Sunderbrook. It stays in the first ward, which I did have a conversation with our first ward alderman at last week's party in the park about this idea, and he was supportive of that. It fits nicely into the overall activity design of Sunderbrook, being the outdoor trails, this Ninja playground, which is more of an adult-oriented style. And because it's a West Side Regional Park, it would be a destination thing that we could promote people to visit Sunderbrook. This is the area. It would go just north of the, I believe it's north of the parking lot area. It fits nicely in there, so it's easily going to be utilized for people to come in and utilize it if they want. The reason I mentioned timing is sort of critical. We have an installer on site next week to reinstall the Prairie Heights playground that is being relocated as part of the Miracle Field, and they would be able to install this one for us as well while they're in town doing it. So, and then we would recommend then going back in next year's budget and requesting the playground that for Credit Island to be put back into the funding stream and still have that playground replaced in future years. So, if this is something that you guys would be okay with, I would just need a discussion and a motion potentially approving it, and then we'd be able to proceed.
Jerry, I see your lights on.
I make a motion that we go ahead with that and move it over to that other park and utilize that equipment rather than setting in a building.
Do I hear a second?
I second that.
All right,
I have a question before
Yeah, discussion.
Maureen
discuss.
seconded.
Wait, yeah. Go ahead, Wendy.
Now you can discuss.
My question is, and I must admit, this is one of the parks I have not been to. So I have a question about, I see space, which is not an issue, but what other kinds of things are around that for families if they're making the journey? Because even though it's a playground, we've got a variety of ages and things. So
Keep in mind that this playground is designed or was purchased with the adult in mind. It's the Ninja one. It's not an 5 to 12 or a typical playground, right? So it's a fitness component, obstacle course. I think it ties in nicely with the off-road trail system that Fork developed at Sunderbrook. There's no other playground in Sunderbrook, and Sunderbrook is really a designated outdoor activity area.
Tegan?
Well,
My thoughts were along the same line, that I don't see a lot of children there, but that answered that question.
Yeah.
Has that Friends group, had they have any input into having it located there?
no, but we can follow up with them. I wouldn't see an issue with them. I mean, their concern is more the trails. It's just another amenity that would be brought to the park.
And I guess why was Credit Island initially chosen? I understand why.
That predates me. I would.
Oh, so that was really why. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Jerry?
Not only I think it's a good place for that group, and it will even enhance that park where we can get more activity, more things in there, as long as they're well aware of what's down there. Because I don't know if you've been up and through that park. I mean, they got horseback riding, they got just about everything you want to do on there as far as being physical. I'm not crazy about going up that hill, but I will. I've ridden it, and I mostly walk it. But it's a great park, it's a great place to go. And I think that we need to do more things for that park too as well to make that more enhanced, and this will be a good start.
Steve?
I agree that it would more enhance Sunderbrook Park because of the type of activity there, and the Ninja equipment could draw more people to that park. That it's kind of an unseen park unless you're a off-road bicyclist and so forth. So I think it's a great idea.
Seeing no more discussion,
Wendy, did you have an additional question? You look like you had another comment after I answered.
Okay.
Sorry.
My thought went to playground. I see no shade or shelter. So my thought would be, if we do this, that there be a commitment to trying to develop at least some protection from the elements via landscaping or shelter in the future. With that, I would feel good. But right now, it's health and safety requires, sunburn and all of that business. But there is that need. But
yeah, we could look at some additional tree plantings and canopy probably would be the
don't
best
think-
shade route.
I don't think trees would be a problem with our selection and quantity within the park, but I'd like to see something there to maybe soften and provide some protection from the elements over time.
Okay, Tegan, did you have another comment?
Just as an FYI to anyone who's not familiar with that park, there is a pavilion and a restroom just on the other side of that parking lot. So it would be close together. But.
That's good to know. Thanks.
Okay, now I don't see any lights on, so I don't see any more questions. I think. Maureen.
Yes, this is not in reference to anything we've been discussing, but in the packet that Jessica prepared for the new members, the bylaws and rules of procedure, as I read through them, and thank you, Jess, for that. On page 3, it does say the monthly meetings of the board will be held on the second Tuesday of each month, which is what we used to do. So I make a motion that that be changed to the first Tuesday of each month, which it is going to be from here on in unless we change it again. Is there a second?
Well, we're still working on the playground.
Oh, you're still
We're still on the playground vote.
ready for?
No, but to answer your comment, we had to change to the first Tuesday due to scheduling. I believe scheduling this room. Okay.
Yeah, finish the motion that's on the
Yes.
table. Then you can come back to Marines
Yeah.
because you probably should make that adjustment so the bylaws accurately reflect that change.
Since we're changing a improvement fund project, I think we're going to I'm going to call a roll call vote so that this, for the record. So we'll start with Coiner.
Yes.
Yes, from Coiner. Duffy.
Yes.
Estes, not absent. Lemick, on the playground. Yes. McBride.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Schwartz. Shirts.
Yes.
I'll learn. I'll get it.
Yes.
Yes. Schlew.
Yes.
Spratt, absent. I can't vote. And Trees.
Yes.
Yes. So I would say it's unanimous.
Thank you. That's all I have for my report.
Okay, thank you, Chad. And I did, for Jessica's records, I have it right there. Moving on to advisory time. Maureen, well, this is under advisory time, so, yeah.
Thank you.
So what, I'm sorry, Maureen, did you?
What? Just, okay. All right, now, as I said before, in the packet that Jessica prepared for the new members of our board, the part labeled bylaws and rules of procedure, on page 3, it says, the monthly meetings of the board will be held on the second Tuesday of each month. I move that that be officially changed to the first Tuesday of each month.
I'll second.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded that we amend the bylaws to read the first Tuesday of the month. Is there any discussion on this? Jerry?
Aye, I think so. Everybody say aye.
Oh. I was looking to see if anyone had a discussion point before I did that. I see no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Thank you, Maureen. It's something we had overlooked.
You're welcome.
Under advisory time for our new members, this is when members bring up topics they wish to discuss. I asked Jessica to include a list of playground replacement dates in your packet, just for your information. So, depending on your neighborhood parks, if people ask you, hey, this park looks like it needs a new playground, when's it getting it? You can have somewhat of a timetable for them. Next,
Richard.
in September, we vote for officers, which will be chair, vice chair, secretary, and we're also going to vote for a liaison to the Riverfront Committee. So there'll be 4 positions. Next month at the August meeting, we will ask for nominations, and we will vote in September. Just so we're giving you all, something to think about. Anybody else? Let's see. Number 1 was Adriana. You had something? Adriana? There you go.
When I met with Jessica and Chad for my preliminary meeting, we talked about, one park of concern with myself and others that live in my neighborhood is Prospect Park, that hill. Really hard to mow, obviously, pretty dangerous to mow that. So there was kind of a prairie planting attempted there, but now other plants that we don't necessarily desire have grown in. So there needs to be a lot of education about instances of planting desirable plants, native plants, pollinator strips, stuff like that. And in those kinds of places where it's hard to mow, it's kind of an alternative to mowing, of just planting desirable plants there. So we'll need educational components for things like that. I noticed that there's some no-mow zones. I know that might not necessarily be Parks and Rec. It might be more Public Works. But still education on our part, just with Parks and Rec and flowers and just an interactive landscape. So there's something called prescribed burns, and that's when you essentially would set this particular hillside on fire in a controlled setting in order to burn off all of that biomass, and then those native plants that are there, they're in the seed beds and their roots are established, so they would come back. The native plants would come back, and then that would be an opportunity to reseed that or add plugs of more desirable and potentially native plants. And I work at Blackhawk State Park, and I've been involved on a couple of burns that we've done there. Prescribed or controlled burns is what they're referred to as. And my manager at Blackhawk actually has conducted a burn on this particular area before and recommends that for now, too. So if we could maybe have some discussion about potentially applying another prescribed burn at that Prospect Hill side and then replanting it to try to get more of a well-established prairie planting down.
I don't know, Chad, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, actually, this is a thing that'll probably be coming in down the road. We will work with Natural Resources, is a division of Public Works that really oversees or has a hand in maintaining no-mows and prairie restorations. And we do. And Prospect Park has been a contentious park on this issue, particularly with some of the neighbors that would like to see it restored to a manicured turf, but it from a safety perspective and the ability to mow it in a safe manner, that just is not the best practice probably in trying to maintain that park. So several years ago it was naturalized, but again, we have not been able to formulate best practices like prescribed burns because of neighbor concerns about smoke and all that. So in our discussions with Adriana, and we've had some internally with Natural Resources, there is a definitely a need for a plan and educational component for the community, and to have that discussion about some of these areas, because not only our hillside parks that are maintained natively, we have other areas in some of our parks that are inactive. We attempted a no-mow area in Northwest Park this past spring and had some resident feedback. But I think if we have some stronger education components and we talk about and have that conversation, there's areas of opportunities that we can naturalize some things, which would help our department, would help Betsy in terms of staff hours and equipment needed to maintain some of our parks that don't necessarily need full manicured, traditional turf. So more to come on that. That's a future topic we definitely want to have a discussion with you guys on.
Thank you. Anything else? I mean, did you have a follow-up?
Another thing, just because of this playground replacement stuff, a potential concept would be to use like fallen wood, stuff like that to make playground equipment. Again, at Blackhawk State Park, we get fallen trees all the time, and we've got playground equipment, but the kids really like playing on the fallen trees. So,
A natural, natural playground?
right, more of a natural playground, really cost effective. We could try some different things. We've got a few different lumber mill places around, even in Geneseo, that could maybe cut some wood or something. So maybe also park benches, just making things out of some fallen wood would be cool. Reuse, recycle.
I'd like to reflect on those comments. I am a certified trainer for National Arbor Day Nature Explore program, and so there's a part of me that truly says if we build or utilize materials, kids love digging and climbing in a safe way, all of those things. So if you're interested, maybe we could get together and talk about maybe some possibilities.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Okay, thank you. Wendy?
Are we moving on to other topics?
I was just waiting to see if Adriana
okay.
says she's finished. Yes.
She is, okay. Two things. The first is I asked Tegan if she would give a brief update. She is the person who has been appointed and represents us on the second or the recreation phase of the Main Street Landing, and so I want to hear from her each time, and it's a brief because she says
Okay. So we were initially scheduled to meet on April 30th, which, as many of us are familiar, was the day of the breach. So it was rescheduled for, I believe, early in June. So Chad was also in attendance. It was pretty brief. It gave introductions of all of the individuals on the task force and a high-level overview of the plan. But given some of the moving pieces with the riverfront, including the railroad, we're sort of on hold. I think they said until the end of the summer before we would reconvene.
Thanks. The second thing, I'm on this movement to get us more visible within the community, and so I wanted to share with you a couple of things again. One of my goals is that since we now represent or appointed to represent our ward, that we become very active in attending ward meetings and other opportunities. And so the one that's coming up in July, there are two Party in the Parks, and on July 11th, that will be in Peterson Park, and Ward 4 is where it is, and so hopefully they will be able to do that. And on July 18th, Wayland Park is Ward 8, and I hope others will join me because I said I want to see Wayland and be present there, so join me there. Last week, Jerry myself and our secretary, I'm blank at the moment, Leah and her children were at Van Buren Park, and my sense was not only did we have contact with residents in the area, but it was a great relationship building because community members were seeing not only Park Advisory Board, but the council who are supporting those endeavors, and JJ was representing the council that night. So it is a great opportunity to start building those connections. The other thing that I want to encourage is that we attend our ward meetings, and so on July 13th, Ward 3 would be Marion McGinnis, and it's from 10 to 11 at Cedar Memorial Christian Church. So that would be our opportunity for our new Ward 3 rep. And on July 22nd is Carrie Tompkins' Ward 8 meeting, and to be announced, and that's from 6:30 to 7:30. So it's a good experience, let me tell you. And if you're not sure, be sure that you contact or know how to get a hold of the calendar. And so if you Google City of Davenport /calendar, you won't miss a moment of activities within the community. So I would encourage us to make a regular check of that. So thanks. See you.
City of Davenport, what?
Tegan,
/calendar.
did you have something?
I do. I fully support everything Wendy's saying. I know myself, Alex, and all our new folks. Where are we with name tags? So if we choose to attend an event, that we could have be able to identify ourselves.
Name tags for our.
I've been told they're in the works. We'll follow up and let you know.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything they want to express? Any ideas?
I don't believe I have a
JJ.
name tag,
Oh,
so I might take exception to that.
oh. Maureen?
Well, this is really now that we're off of everything, and I was going to ask this in a personal way to Troy, but maybe other people want the answer too. I don't know. This is antics with semantics. You know, what do you call things? Okay, that I don't know. And disc golf. What do you call? I call it a station because I don't know any other word. What do you call the spot
Basket?
that would be the hole? You know, the hole in the green in real golf.
Well, disc golf has two main components. I'll try to get this right because it's not my specialty on that part. But they usually have a concrete platform or a designated platform
Yes.
where you would launch your
Right.
disc from, which would be the tee, and then the basket is what the hole is.
They call it what?
A basket.
A basket.
Correct.
That's what it looks like. But
Yeah, it looks like something you hang laundry around and things like that.
yeah, I know.
We use them for in the regular golf.
Well, I've never heard anybody talking about it. I watch them do it all the time out through my kitchen window.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's very
but
popular.
Yes.
in fact, there was recently some kind of I don't know what they had, but they had at least 10 to 12 teams competing, a competition of some kind at our park. Yeah.
There's actually a professional disc golf.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thank you. Just a little bitty nothing, but
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Thank you, Maureen.
okay.
Troy,
Your mic is still on.
Yeah.
Jerry?
I want to ask you one thing. You know, the golf tournament's coming up, John Deere golf tournament. Is there any way that, I don't know if it would make any difference or not, if we had a booth over there that would show our golf courses and that type of thing? It's a lot of people that walk through there.
Yeah.
I can't speak for a booth, but I can tell you we do take an advertisement out in their program guide. but I'm not aware of booth opportunities.
I would be surprised that there wouldn't be a sponsorship that you could buy. You just have to buy a regular sponsorship. I don't know that there's extra booths that I know.
I'm
of
not
that-
looking to get in. I'm looking to get advertisement to our golf course.
Right, I meant like what I was trying to explain was I don't know that there's any type of a plaza of advertisers there other than you buying like a tea sponsorship or buying a sponsorship of something that I would have to guess it'd be a pretty premium
Yeah.
at that profile.
I just
So we
wonder-
advertise in like in the flyers and in the guide.
Yeah.
As the director says, and things like that leading up to the event.
Okay. I was just trying to get us out to the public more on that direction. And with somebody where when I in my work that I used to do, we used to have an awful lot of those, and we did them all over the whole Midwest, and we received an awful lot of comeback from that, business-wise. So it does make a difference. I'm just not sure if we've ever done anything like that, or should do anything like that. Yeah, it may not be cost effective, but it's something to look at, is all. I just wondered if there was anything that we were doing. Okay, thank you.
Tegan.
So this is sort of just for my own information. Our 3 new members, so we lost Ryan, Chris, and who else? Kim. Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you. I was blanking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no more lights on, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second the motion.
Who made the motion? Adriana, and then.
All right, I
and
second the
Lemon
motion.
seconded. Okay. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Thank you all for coming. Okay, McBride. I had to stop and think what your last name was. Thank you all. Let's see.